Hello YouTube art lovers, back again with another painting this time. I have a fascination with trees. So this painting is going to be of a nice, like Japanese maple with a nice backlighting coming through the leaves. It's a fairly large size painting. This one I think was like 24 by 30, so it's a good size painting. I've got just the very basics of a composition there, and the rest will come as I go. Put in a little element of water so far, and I'm doing some foreground work at the moment with some small shrubberies and bushes. I have a very defined technique with how I do my landscaping, bushes and trees and things like that. And I had to relearn how to do it. When I was a watercolor painter, I did several hundred watercolor paintings. Um, with the watercolor, I learned that I had to work from light to dark, meaning you put down the lightest colors first, general washes and things like that, and build on top of it, getting darker and darker and darker. With acrylic, it's backwards. You put down the dark surface first, your underlayment, your dark underlayment to an element, and then you start building on top of that with lighter and lighter colors until you get to your finest highlights. So you can kind of see that's what's going on there. I start with just a blob of darkness, some sort of dark green that I used here, and then start building on top of that until it takes a shape. By leaving shadows and adding highlights, it takes its own shape, gives it form. This is the foreground for the tree, I guess the grass and stuff underneath it. So I'm putting in the basic dark colors and starting to work the lights back onto it, having some of the sunlight come through the trees and onto the ground. There's variations of greens and yellows and whites that I'm using. I like sap greens, hunter greens, cad yellows, titanium white, Mars black. Again, here's a shape of a bush in the background. I'll start with the dark color. That'll be its shadow area. And then start working on top of that, building up the different layers. And I usually mix like 5 different shades of my green. I will mix my darkest, and then a dark mid-tone, a regular mid-tone, a light mid-tone, and then a highlight color. And I work them. It's usually 5 stages to make the shape. The trees sometimes can take 7 or 8, but generally 5 stages is what I do to get the shape of the trees. Just some more like off the side foreground work, kind of coming into the painting. Now I'm throwing in my background that I can start building over. A little cyan blue probably, some cad yellow or lemon yellow maybe. I don't recall at this time. So working that in for my sunlight in the background. Adding another little bush. Putting in some little branches for detail. Little twigs here and there. The whole idea on this painting is that the sunlight is kind of like dead center of the painting. It's going to be coming through the trees. So what I'm doing now is I'm laying in my first layer of leaves. Now in this one, I work backwards. I put in the light stuff first, and then the shadows of the darker leaves. The darker leaves are where it's farthest away from the sun, or the tree that's on our side, we'll say. So those leaves will end up being darker because the sun can't get through them. So I want to put in my highlights of my lightest leaves first, so I can define where that sun's coming through. And I'm working with 2 or 3 variations of the green and yellow color at the moment. Starting to define some of the shapes. Some more of the background stuff. Back to some more light areas. Let's work this tree upward. Let's let it fill this whole frame. So you can see the darkest leaves are the ones that are closest to us that the sun can't get to. And you want to give the tree depth by doing that. You get, working the light and dark areas. So the tree looks like it actually has some depth. You can reach out there and grab a bunch of these leaves. Dark areas. Kind of looks a little blobby at the moment. You can't really tell how the tree is growing or how it's hanging or how it's reaching out. That'll come here in a second. You'll see. I want to leave some of that sky peeking through. There's a foreground rock. Some variations of blues and turquoises and greens and some whites. Just give that rock a little shape. More fine details with the black. And we're getting some more sunlight now coming through on my hill. I wanted a little more sunlight on the hill. Some more light colors to pop off to the side there. Now let's start working that trunk. Let's find out how this thing is grabbing the sky and reaching out. Here we go. Now we're getting those arms and fingers going. Japanese maples grow very ornately. The limbs just go all over the place. Lots of twitches in them. They're not straight. They all just kind of bend and curve and wrap back on themselves. Lots of little fine branches. There we go. All right. That's how you do it. And you can see how that sunlight comes through the tree, where the leaves are nice and light. All those nice little twigs. Couple final little touches. You can just kind of tell where a twig or a limb needs to be sometimes. Little fine black work around the bushes. And there you go. I hope you enjoyed this one. Catch me again on the next.